So we're trying to continually kind of define ourselves, aren't we, by the roles that we inhabit. Uh, the role of parent, the role of family member, the role of colleague. What we're going to explore tonight is how these roles, how over kind of identifying with these roles kind of limit us, and we're also going to explore particularly how that limits us in meditation. So right at the heart of the human experience, there's this real deep desire to have an identity, isn't there? To really kind of be somebody. And in a way, you could say that's our most fundamental belief, that there's this self, there's this me in here. I'm here now looking out at you guys, and there's a world out there with people that are looking in at me, kind of this separate. And we kind of cherish. It feels quite natural to cherish that idea of me in here. When you start looking at it, looking into it, it's quite mysterious, isn't it? It's quite strange that we've got this mysterious, invisible entity that kind of experiences our kind of life. That's what we feel like. We're embodied, and there's this entity which experiences our life, and that seems so normal and natural that we don't even want to question that. We don't really want to even question that in a way. It doesn't seem to require any analysis. So you could even say that at the most deepest level, there's this kind of unthinking habit of seeking an identity, basically this kind of deep sense of me-ness. But as we'll look into, Buddhism kind of starts to want to question that. And it questions whether that's actually kind of fundamentally limiting our lives, and how can we kind of how can we feel our way into that sense of me and other, and whether that's a real difference. So why do we do that? Why do we want to do that? Well, one of the things that we really need to look at is what happens when we are kind of identifying with something really strongly, let's say role of parent. Well, what happens when that starts to get threatened, this idea of me as a good parent, yeah? We can see that, people praising or blaming us as our parent. Every parent knows if they've shouted at their kids how suddenly that idea of them being a good parent gets challenged, or let's think at work. You might get passed over for a promotion, or you're pushing for a promotion, and that really kind of, you can really get kind of hooked in on that, can't you? There's all sorts of ways that we kind of, even being a Buddhist it can be a kind of role that we inhabit. So what happens? On a kind of very basic level, when we over-identify with anything, is that we're looking for those things which are going to enhance that sense of me, of that role, and then so we've got this kind of wanting. We've got this deep kind of wanting for those things which are going to kind of solidify or make us feel real in that role, and we really don't like those things which kind of undermine that role, whether it be kind of efficient worker or whatever it is. We're going to have a real aversion to that, things that are going to kind of, that's going to really trouble us. And then the other thing that's going to happen is that we're going to start comparing ourselves. So if I'm a good worker, how good a worker am I in relation to other good workers or bad work? We're going to start to create a hierarchy in our mind. Where do we fit in all of this? And we're going to look at tonight how roles, how they kind of play out in the meditation as well, and how they limit our, this whole amazing enterprise of expanding consciousness. So that's a little bit about what's going to happen tonight. So firstly, a very warm welcome. I'm in a class with my friends. I'm really, really pleased everyone's come. My name's Mike Chinara. I'm a teacher at the Brixton Buddhist Centre, and an order member with the Sri Ratna Buddhist Order. And so we've been putting on a lot of stuff online over this period, and if you want to keep up to speed with the kind of stuff that we're putting on, just press subscribe and the alerts on the YouTube, and then you'll just keep up to speed with everything that we're doing. So yeah, the other thing that we do is we do shout outs. So if you are there present behind the camera, so to speak, then do let me know. Let me know who you are, where you're from. It'd be lovely to hear from you, and I'll be able to give you a shout out later. And so yeah, let me know who's out there. So yeah, we're here in Every Space. I'm here with my friends, and we're going to do this meditation class. Every Space is in Brixton. And we're doing it in this kind of slightly surreal kind of hybrid form. But nonetheless, it is going to be a class. It is a regular class. So just engage on that level. So we've got cameras and lighting and everything in here. You just engaging on the level of it being a class. So in order for us to really get into the class, all I want us to do now is we're going to do a little body scan. Yes, we'll do a little thing to just kind of get us present to what's going to happen now in the class. Okay. So if you're at home, just sit yourselves easy. If you're on the sofa, on your desk chair, wherever you are, just sit yourself in a nice kind of quite energized but relaxed posture, and I'm just gonna guide you through a little bit of a body scan. So yeah, if you're happy to, we're just going to close our eyes and just start to inhabit the space that we're in. So the kind of room we're in, just the space around us. And maybe the noises that we can hear inside the room or outside the room. So that's all kind of taking place, and we can just let that happen. We don't need things to be perfectly quiet to just get present. So just allowing the sound and the feeling of space to surround you just to be there. And then within that space you can just feel yourself, can't you? You feel your body. And how do you feel your body? It's just these sensations that we can contact. You can notice that some parts of your body are more kind of visible in the sensations. You can feel them more. So we've got a sense of ourselves here through the sensations, and we can feel quite strongly where we're contacting the ground. So that kind of surface area where we're contacting the ground, you can feel the sensations that are present there. So you might feel them as a kind of sense of pressure or temperature. Maybe a kind of slight tingling, sense of aliveness. And just seeing if you can allow your legs to just soften and relax down into that contact. There's no need to hold on to any excess tension. You can just start to let that go. And then just noticing your tummy, the area of your tummy. Again, you may just feel that you're holding on a bit in the tummy, and you can just see if you can allow that to soften, start to let go. So the lower part of the body just feels grounded and relaxed into that contact with the ground. And you can just feel the upper part of the body now kind of rising up out of that. Feel the trunk of the body. You can feel the air of the shoulders. And again, just see if you can start to soften this area of the shoulders and the upper back. And then bringing your awareness up into your head and the forehead and temples. The eyes. See if you can start to soften your eyes somewhat. Soften the gaze. And then just dropping down into the area of the chest and just feel yourself breathing. Body moves, just part of this breathing body. And then just bringing yourself back into the room. Feel yourself in contact with the ground. Feel yourself meditating with other people, contact with other people in the class. Okay, good. So I'm just going to see if anybody's tuned in. Have you got anybody on the chat? Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to see if I can get that chat going a bit better. Ah, here we go. All right, hi. This is all live. Nice to see you, Lisa. Nice that you're here. Jill, Debs from Brixton. Chris, nice to see you, Chris. Nice, well, good to have you. Never know to say nice to see you or nice to have you here. Ian, hi Ian. Tony's tuning from New Zealand. We've got Ben in Peckham, and Biometry. Hello, Biometry in Bristol. So yeah, good. So yes, here we are, together with my friends here. We're going to just explore this idea of roles in our lives and what's that about, yeah? So it gets quite interesting when you start getting into this kind of territory. At first, it just feels like, well, what's this got to do with me? But a bit abstract. But when you start actually getting into this question, well, who am I? It gets quite interesting, actually. So I just wanted to, I mean, the thing is, of course, we have to relate to roles. Yeah, that's a given. We have to relate to roles. Yeah, we have to kind of. It's important that we have roles. If we're not just in a kind of a amorphous kind of blob, we have relationships, don't we? We have relationships with colleagues and family and friends, and we have certain responsibilities, and it's important to kind of recognise that. But what happens when we grab onto that too closely? That's what we're going to be looking at. So I just wanted to say about this little experience I had on this. Before I got involved with True Right Now, I went to this Zen retreat. I'm sure I've told a couple of you this story. There's a long version and a short version. I won't go into the really long version, but the upshot of this Zen retreat was that most of it was in silence. So there we were in silence. The long version is it took me a long time to get there, and we plunged into silence the moment I got there, so I didn't know what was going on. So we're in silence, and we were asked to just took over this question, who am I? When we just have a moment when we had an idea that you just turn this over in your mind, who am I? So there you'd be doing it in silence amongst these people I didn't know. And there I'm turning over this idea, who am I in my mind? And then once a day, you just would meet in the shrine room, just after meditation, you turn to someone close to you, and you'd talk for 5 minutes about who you thought you were, and they would talk for 5 minutes about who they thought they were, and you do that 3 times, and then you plunge back into silence. And I just found it a really, really interesting exercise to do. I encourage my study group and in other contexts to have a go at this. Because you start off by exhausting all those obvious things, your name, what you do, and so you're like, but that's not who I am, So you slowly you kind of unfold something, and then the things that they're saying is also like, oh, that sounds like getting a bit closer to it, and so you start to kind of unfold who you think, it's really interesting, and then of course you plunge back into silence, and then you've got plenty of time to think about it, So it's a very interesting exercise. I recommend having a go at that if you've got a bit of space and time to do it. So that's kind of helpful in a kind of reflective mode, but more often than not, we're thinking about who we are with proliferative thought. Do you know what I mean? We're just kind of, our minds are just racing. What's going on here in the class? Is this all right? Am I enjoying it? Do I agree with Machinara? Our minds are kind of constantly on the go, aren't they? Trying to assess a situation. And a lot of that can be traced back into trying to find a sense of identity, trying to find a sense of security, trying to find a sense of kind of meanness, yeah? And that's kind of fine, that's kind of natural, that's a natural process in a certain way that we're constantly kind of in a way. What's interesting is when the world doesn't kind of corroborate our version of events, if you see what I mean. We think we're some way, yeah. We think we're, I don't know. I think of myself as quite effective, quite capable. So when I get into a situation where that's manifestly like not quite happened, I feel quite embarrassed because it jars with my sense of self. I remember taking some people on a retreat for a short walk and getting them lost. And then time was ticking, we're trying to get back to the meditation, and I just felt so acutely embarrassed. They were all saying, look, it's fine. I don't know if any of you were actually there, but they was all saying it was fine, don't worry about it. But what it was jarring was my sense of being this capable person. So that's kind of painful, isn't it, when our sense of who we are is kind of challenged in that way, yeah? So it's interesting to think about this prolific thought. You might have a little play around with this and see that a lot of it is this kind of me-making kind of utility, yeah, and that breeds a kind of tension. Now, you might notice that in meditation, when you start going off into thought, and you come back to your body, you find that you've tightened up, haven't you? So this me making has this inherent kind of tensioning, bracing kind of effect, and that creates more thought. So it's a kind of a cycle. And we can bring awareness to that in meditation. We can't decide to, as I was saying last week, we can't decide to stop this habit of me, but we can bring some attention to that cycle of tension and thought and tension, yeah, and we can bring some interest to that cycle. So I'm going to go into a little bit more about meditation, what roles we might bring into meditation, and this is definitely not an exhaustive list. Definitely not an exhaustive list, because there's as many roles as we have got kind of activities to kind of create those roles. But one of the things is I'm a Buddhist or I'm not a Buddhist. That will affect how what happens in your meditation, actually. I mean, there's this amazing process that we're involved in meditation of altering our consciousness. Science agrees with that, Buddhism agrees with that. So whether you're agnostic to Buddhism and you think of yourself as a scientific kind of person, or you kind of think of yourself as a religious person, we're engaged in this process of altering consciousness, aren't we? It's pretty amazing, really. But if you're not religious, or you even have resistance to the idea of religion, then you might interpret those experiences that you have in meditation. You might interpret them in particular ways, maybe quite psychological ways that you've kind of learned to interpret your experience. If you're a religious person, or think of yourself as a kind of Buddhist or religious, you might start to interpret those experiences in a different way, not necessarily a better way, but it might have a more creative element, or it might have a more dogmatic element. Oh, this is I don't know. You know, you can get into jargon sometimes in Buddhism. This is what's happening, yeah. Rather than this kind of beginner's mind. So this beginner's mind is quite. Yeah, it's quite lauded, isn't it? This beginner's mind. Often you come to meditation when you first start, if you don't kind of know quite what you're supposed to be kind of happening. So experience is just unfolding without us kind of labelling it too much. So sometimes quite interesting things can happen quite early on. So yeah, I think however we label ourselves as religious, the important bit is not to create too much importance to our interpretation of what's happening. Yeah, it's just kind of provisional. I mean, sometimes a meditation experience just feels significant, doesn't it? You can just feel something kind of meaningful's happened. I think you can trust that, but the interpretation of quite what that is needs, by definition, to be provisional. So we don't kind of fix things too prematurely. So another thing that can happen in meditation is we can get into the idea that I'm a good meditator or I'm a bad meditator, and well, it's just experience unfolding, isn't it? So it's quite interesting to question what we think of as a good meditation. Are we trying to force a certain experience to happen? Yeah, and if it's not happening, then we're a bad meditator. So starting to label ourselves in that way, or even if we're a regular meditator, we can get into a bit of beration about, oh, I'm not kind of doing it enough. I'm not engaged enough with meditation, and that can start to affect us trying to force something to happen. Yeah, so how we think of ourselves and how we think of our meditation practice can sometimes try and kind of force us to try and create or recreate an experience maybe that we've had in the past. Yeah. You might think of yourself as a real rule. I want to just follow the technique. Now, my friend Rob, I don't know if Rob is listening, but Rob, he's very funny. When he first started doing meditation, he's just like, I'm just going to breathe. I'm just going to go with the breath. And he just thought of himself as a disciplined person. And he just wasn't getting anywhere because he was just forcing his mind to be on the breath the whole time. Rather than just to kind of be with what was happening. Sometimes, okay, so the breath was there as a central focus, but sometimes you go off and on it, don't you? But he would there'd be a kind of rigidity. I hope you don't mind me, Rob, talking about it. But it's very funny when he speaks about it. When things start to loosen up in that meditation, then things would start to become more interesting. Yeah? So we can get too stuck on the technique. Conversely, we can think of ourselves as someone who doesn't like to follow technique, like we're a bit of a rebel, we just do our own thing. And then meditation can be a bit kind of floppy, can be a bit dreamy, can just never quite gather itself, it can be a bit kind of unfocused, yeah? So that's a little bit about kind of Buddhism, meditate, whether, how we think of ourselves as meditators. But I think there's these more societal roles that we have, isn't there? That maybe they're kind of interesting as well. So, but I'm thinking of the first one I'm going to mention is parenting. So, what does it mean to be a good parent? We want to, if we are a parent, and I am, we want to think of ourselves as a good one, yeah. And but it can create a kind of identity as well. Like, you might be interesting to watch how you are in a space with your child and then other people getting a bit close. Maybe particularly around this time now where with the social distancing, but I've definitely noticed that prior to COVID, people got a bit too close, especially when my daughter was young. I'd be suddenly this kind of slightly ferocious creature emerges, a protective creature, So that's a natural protective urge, but what happens if we over-identify with that, yeah? So what it means to be a good parent, what it means to be, is quite good to kind of challenge yourself on in a way. Work is another good one. With work, work just seems so fundamental to how we think of ourselves, doesn't it? Our kind of self-image, really. Recently I've been on kind of a holiday, or certainly put things down quite a bit, and I've just noticed coming back today, so my day was my first day of more structured work, how it has this momentum of effectiveness. This momentum of effectiveness, and it really crowds any sense of relaxation or valuing relaxation. That gets kind of crowded out and that's fine, isn't it? We need to be effective at work, but it was really interesting. At the end of the day, I thought, there's no way I'm going to get out of this. I'm too tired. And I did just actually kind of ad hoc sit down to meditate, and then I found, God, I've really squashed myself here. But I could, by noticing that, start to unravel it a little bit. So you get into this, I certainly do, you get into this kind of mode of effectiveness or capacity, and it becomes quite kind of all-consuming in a way. So that's another one to look at. Work is really interesting. Work, parent, any of these things, it can even start to feel like your fundamental value, your worth of being here as a kind of breathing human being on this planet can be almost determined by how effective you are in your roles. It's just kind of, it's pretty kind of fundamental when you start looking into it. So we're going to have a chance to get into that, into a bit of Q&A, a bit of discussion a bit later on. But I thought what we'd do is we explore it first in meditation, so we just let it go a little bit deeper. So we're going to lead us through a guided meditation. And last week, what we did with the guided meditation, if you were here last week, and it's, if you want to, you can reflect, you can go back to the recording of last week. What we did is we reflected on those roles when they start to impinge on the meditation, and that's one way of working with this type of ideas in meditation, is you can start to reflect on them a bit. What we're going to do this week is a bit different though. What we're going to do this week is we're going to completely shift the paradigm. So we usually think of ourselves in a particular way. So I'm going to get us to actually start maybe experiencing ourselves in a different way and see what that, kind of see in a way what that does to our feeling of who we are. Yeah, kind of who we are really. So, and the way we'll do that is normally, well, meditation always starts in the body, doesn't it? It starts in the body. So normally we may well think of our body as it's happening in this kind of flesh and blood body with shoulders, my lower back, my tummy, and often, of course in the body scan I'm referencing all of that. But I'm going to question whether that is what we're actually experiencing, our shoulders. Because the shoulders, again, is just a label we've put on. So I'm going to question that by looking at our actual experience of the body, our sensations of the body. And I'm going to talk about in terms of a subtle energy body. Now that kind of language may or may not appeal to you. You may sound a bit new agey, or you might be quite attracted to it. But that's how I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it as a subtle energy body within, or inhabiting, or coexisting with our kind of flesh and blood body. Yeah? So let's, and then we'll have a little look at how kind of exploring ourselves in that way, how it kind of affects us. Yeah? So let's do that, and then there'll be a chance for a bit more questions afterwards. Yeah? So again, let's just set ourselves up for meditation. It's been quite a lot of words, so just let's just start off by kind of getting ourselves grounded again. And you don't know how you're going to contact your body. You don't know what it's going to be like now. So let's just see what it's feeling like just now. So you may feel in yourself be a bit lethargic and you're tired, maybe the day's catching up with you. Or you may start to be feeling yourself as relaxing after whatever's been going on today. You may feel a little bit buzzy and restless. You can kind of pick that up in a way, in a kind of vibration of the body. Kind of energy of the body. And that can change. So we're just noticing how things are just now. And then again, just re-establish contact with the ground. And what is that? With this amazing capacity to feel through the senses, we can feel that contact. It's very hard to label what that feels like. And that's spread out between maybe the feet, knees maybe if you're on the floor, and the backside. And then in the space where the tummy is, what sensations can we contact there? So they may be pleasant or unpleasant, or there may be almost like an absence of feeling there. And all we're doing at the moment is just tuning into that. You may feel within that some sort of tension. So then moving spatially kind of upwards from there, feeling the area around the chest. Sometimes there can be quite a lot of sensation there. We can be quite quick to judge whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. So just seeing if you can notice what's there, just however that is. See if you can get into almost the grainy kind of subtlety of that sensation. And then spatially from there, coming backwards and up a bit and just noticing the area around the shoulders. Of course, you can't find an outline there. If there was an outline, does what we can feel, does that kind of fit neatly into that? And then coming back up spatially, up into the area around the head. I'm just getting a sense of pressure or release in the area. Energetically, what does that feel like? So then getting a feeling for the body as a whole. Connected up. We're going to just allow ourselves to feel out a little bit. Where can we feel the edge of this subtle energy body? Can we find a point where that kind of ends? And then the outside space, so to speak, starts. See if you can feel your way out into the space of the room. Even beyond that. These sounds that are present are just part of that space. In a way, kind of weaving in and out of that space, emerging, submerging. We can feel ourselves breathing here, the breathing body. What does that do, the feeling of breathing, what does that do to this subtle energy body? How these changes as we breathe in the body. Stay static, or is there changes? And then just being present here in the body, not forcing anything to happen. Just coming back into that contact with the ground. The deep, solid ground below us. And what happens if we, as we breathe in, we just send our energy down into the ground. Breathe out, energy just returning to the body. And if you get lost, you can just notice where your mind has gone off to. Even noticing the kind of fabric of the thought, how it affects your body, being caught in or interested in those thoughts. Even potentially noticing them just coming and going, just like the sound in space, just noticing the thoughts, no different. And then coming back into contact with the breathing body, just however it is. Sensations in the space of the tummy and around the chest. And now for the last few moments of the meditation, just dropping any effort and just staying with your sitting, but everything else, just letting it do as it will, just staying with your experience, however it is unfolding. And then just coming back into contact with the ground, with yourself, with your body, and this feeling, this acknowledgement of other people that you're meditating with. Okay, good. So in a moment we'll get into a little bit of questions and see if there's any discussion to be had on anything that was in that talk, or reflections or the experience of the meditation. I'll just see if anyone else should join us. Hi, Stefan. Stefan's in the house. Good to see Stefan. I'm just going to say briefly, while we collect ourselves and have a think about what anything we might want to say. Just going to say a little bit about what Brixton community does and needs. So Brixton Buddhist community is, it's just us cooperating with one another to try and make things happen. It requires people. It's like Adam doing the tech here, me doing the talk this time around. But lots and lots going on behind the scenes as well. So there's quite a big cooperation between a lot of people, and that requires real kind of generosity of spirit and but also of money. So I wanted to just say that we've worked out we need to raise £2,000 a month to keep all the activities going and actually keep expanding out into new ones like the summer retreat, which I'm going to talk about a bit later on. And we've done really well this month because we've got up to £1,226. And particularly wanted to thank Camilla. She's put a new monthly gift in, Deborah a new weekly gift, and also Vajratara, who's actually here. So that's very kind of you all. And I think there was a little dynamometer came up around here. I forgot to do the thing, but there we go. So thanks very much for your generosity. Okay, let's get into this area of role. So anything occur to you guys, and also at home as well. If you come up with anything, just put it into the chat box. So what did you make of it? Anything come out of that?
Yeah, actually, I thought that this. Thanks for the talk.
Yeah.
Firstly, and secondly, I thought this talk was very relevant to what I'm going through last few days.
Oh.
So my question is kind of like I have kind of problem with lately I've been identifying myself as like a good kind of worker, like good employee, like I'm doing everything perfectly, I'm managing my work perfectly, I'm on top of everything, and then suddenly on Friday, bang on, I'm doing like a big mistake, like a big stupid mistake. And I feel so kind of like angry with myself and so ashamed. All kind of my kind of that like flying high kind of in a way just dropped down and crushed on the ground, like and it was so painful. So painful, and I was just reflecting on that, and I knew that kind of like it's so painful because I was flying high, because all this idea of myself that I'm so good, I'm so good, I got it, okay, I got this job now, I'm doing well now. All these people are telling me that I'm not good, I'm good enough. And now I was just like, I wanted to cry.
Yeah.
It was so painful. I was kind of I felt like my identity of that good kind of employee was crushed and damaged in front of my in front of my boss, because I was emailing her, and I copied someone who's kind of I'm managing, so he was kind of copied to that stupid email as well in a way. But I'm just reflecting. So okay, what can we do? What can we do? It's like, not fly high. I guess that's kind of like a lesson I'm learning now, I guess. Not to just get myself kind of like puffed up, get my ego puffed up that I'm doing good. So any recommendation, any advice?
No, it's great. Very evocative way of laying that one out. I think in a way you've kind of you've named it really, haven't you, Alex? The elation, getting identified with the elation of things going really well. I mean, that things are going really well. It's good, isn't it? There's nothing we shouldn't berate on. There's nothing. That's good. It's, in a way, that's preferable than things really not going well. So there's nothing. It's natural that we want things to go well, but then we do this extra thing, don't we? Where we kind of just look a little bit shiny. We kind of slightly kind of puffed, get excited by ourselves. And of course, it would be impossible to go through our whole life just, flying high in that way, because of course there's going to be times when that's not happening. So then that becomes particularly painful to crash, doesn't it? It becomes particularly painful to crash. So I don't know. I'll be interested to hear what other people think. I mean, it is an interesting area. How do you not associate with things when they're going well? Of course, we want things to go well, don't we? So how do we?
I suppose in my experience, there's always a bit of me also that's a bit step back from that. So yeah, I can see myself getting a bit excited because I'm doing something really well, and then I can see the crash. But there's also a little bit of me that step back and go, oh, this is how this is. You know, and I suppose that's the reflective sort of wisdom part, thinking this is what it's like living in the world. You know, 1 minute you're up high, you've got a lot of praise, you think you're someone special, and then it sort of deflates, and in a way having a sense of kindness towards that as well. Like, this is what it's like being human in the world. So there's part of me that's really in it, and part of me really deflated, and then there's part of me that's looking back thinking, oh, you know, a bit like a friend, being a friend to myself. And you know, you watch your friend going up and you watch your friend going down, and all the while it's sort of held in a bit of a space of sort of kindness and understanding, and a bit of a smile as well, you know.
It was difficult to smile, to be honest, the first day. And,
maybe a bit of perspective.
Yeah, and then the kindness, I was actually aware of that I need to bring kindness, but it was difficult. I was like finding difficult to be kind to myself in that kind of state, you know? Just continuously want to tell myself I'm stupid.
I mean, that's one of the real functions of friends, though, isn't it? You know, but real friends, not friends that are going to be collusive and say, you know, try and blame someone else or belittle the fact that you know you have messed up. You know, I like those. You know, those friends that go like, yeah, like you really. So someone did it to me the other day, like, no, you really did. You really messed up. And I was like, but it was done with such a tone. I was like, yeah, no, you know what, you're right. It was done with that tone, you know, of like, but I still kind of love you. But no, you did mess up. You know, it was the tone, you know. So I really appreciated that. And then, well, the pain of it changes. We all know that the pain, it changes, doesn't it? You know, in the same way the shininess of the elation, it doesn't last. The pain of the deflation doesn't last either. So it's kind of part of the, well, as Veg Soul was saying, it's part of that, the ebb and flow, you know. Yeah. Any other, well, we don't have to, any other reflections on the meditation?
I think I was just thinking about what you said, Vajratara, as well, stepping back, because I think being in lockdown and having these roles seemed a lot more intensified, like working at home all week and not. I realise that I'm very much of a people person, so if I'm in the office I can look around and think this person looks upset, this person needs a tap on the shoulder, this person needs this, but when I was at home I couldn't do that, so I felt like a part of my identity had been stripped away from me, and then I had to merge into this new Zoom person, and you can't quite pick up how people are feeling. So it actually made me feel quite useless in a way, and it took me quite a long time to step back and actually become a friend, because I didn't have the friends in the office that could come up to you and say, oh, you messed up, or this is happening. I had to create a sort of another me that looked in on myself and was being kind to myself and saying, look, Daisy, you're doing this, you're doing that, or maybe you didn't need to do that. And that was quite difficult. I mean, I was moving my office from my bedroom to the front room to all these different places to see if that made a difference. But actually it was just me looking in on myself and actually giving myself a pat on the shoulder and saying, this is difficult and you're okay. But I think, and being at home, trying to homeschool as well, and I've tried to be the perfect mother homeschooling, and it was going wrong, and you know, I was like having a Zoom meeting here, then I was trying to set up a Zoom meeting for my son with school, and it was just I mean, I went through a stage where I literally felt an aversion to everything. Everything. I had to, it really helped to step back and look at myself and actually reflect on who I was and actually say, you know, oh, I've made a mistake there, and sit with it. I sat with myself a lot more. So I feel like I'm sort of coming through the end of lockdown a completely different person. So coming back here and actually communicating with people face to face, I don't feel like the same person as I was 4 months ago. It feels a lot, you know, it doesn't have to be, you can be more than one person. Yeah, I found the other side of myself, the human side. So thank you.
Thank you.
We might have time for one more. Is there anyone else had something?
I just noticed something in meditation, just to say, because when you were talking about, I realised I had an idea of my body, which I could have drawn, you know, like what I'm wearing, what I look like. But when I actually went into the meditation, it just felt like my whole entire shape. I was trying to just go with the experience of my body and where it was, and even what the temperature was of my body was completely different in that experience. So then if I draw myself what I look like in my, well, maybe the subtle body or what it felt like my body was, I would have been this really weird shape with different colours and different temperatures and things like that. So then when I opened my eyes, I was quite surprised. I was like, oh, there it is. I thought it was like there and like this. My hands were like huge and, you know. Which just it made me realise I just got this idea of my experience, and actually it's not my experience.
Yeah, that's really good. And that's, I think, like that's the kind of common sense view that we're trying to challenge a little bit. You know, the common sense view is that here I am, I kind of end here, and then the world kind of starts there, you know, and that kind of thing. You know, in any of these roles, like you were saying, Daisy May, or you know, but parenting and work, you were saying, Alex, you know. We get this idea of our shape and who we are, you know, and then of course the world doesn't agree with us the whole time, you know. It doesn't agree. We can't go through the world in that shape. Everyone else is in the same way, you know, trying to create their shape, and that might bang up against your, you know. So it's just kind of interesting to come back into some of the fundamentals, like with work. I think it's particularly interesting for me as to like what do I associate with, particularly like the qualities in work that I particularly associate with, that I'm particularly pleased when those qualities are shiny, and particularly unhappy when, you know, and that feels quite fundamental to who I think I am, you know, and then the role is kind of built around that, if you know what I mean. Anyways, it's an interesting area to play around with, isn't it? Okay, so I'm just going to say a few things before we wrap up. The main thing I want to talk about is the summer retreat. Summer retreat is starting on Sunday the 2nd, and it's going to be great. We're working together with 5 other Buddhist centres across the UK, Dublin and in Ireland. And the LBC, London Buddhist Centre, being the larger of the centres, is carrying a lot of the program. They've got a lot of very, very experienced, well-loved Dharma meditation teachers, and they've got a really exciting program through the week. And the really cool thing is that it's entirely free. You just need to sign up. I hope everyone is signed up. You just need to sign up, and then you'll be sent the program and the emails about the program. You'll be kept in touch through the week with little reflections. And what you could do, if you were in such a position, that you could just take a week off and just have a retreat. But but most people aren't going to be in that position, so you can just use the retreat as you want. And this is really exciting opportunity because you've got a retreat in your actual life. That's amazing. We're trying to expand our consciousness, expand our sense of love and awareness in our actual life, with all its roles and interests and connections and relationships. So what would that be like? You know, so we could go through that adventure together, and you can come to just as much or as little of the program as you want. So I really recommend you sign up to it. So Adam's put it on the chat. He's so on it, Adam's so on it, so he's put it on the chat. So you just can go to London Buddhist Centre online, and there you just have to register. Okay, you just register and put Brixton as your centre, and then there'll be little breakout groups where Brixton we'll be meeting as a community as well through the course of that retreat. So that's the main thing. Sign up to that. Another really good thing to do would be to sign up to a course. There's a course starting on Wednesday, and that will take you through a whole month, once a week, a whole month. And that's on growing your meditation practice, growing your confidence in your meditation practice. So you could sign up to that retreat, which would be really good, and you could sign up to the course. The course will keep running through the retreat, and it will be complimentary as well. So you could do both. But have a look at the course details on our channel, Buddhist Meditation, and you on our there's a little YouTube advert for that, and also you can have a look on our website. Finally, there's going to be a Zoom meeting in about kind of 10 minutes, a bit less than 10 minutes, about kind of 8 minutes. The link to that's going to be up already. Have you got the link up for that, Adam? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so come on the Zoom conversation. We've just kind of scratched the surface here, haven't we, in this area of roles. So come on the Zoom, and there'll be just a chance to just get into that discussion. And if you've not come on one of those Zoom calls before, just come on, just try it out and see whether you like it. Okay, so really encourage you to just come into the Zoom and get into connection about what's happening in the meditation. Okay, so thanks everyone for engaging. Thanks for coming along, and thanks everybody at home or wherever you are for engaging. And wish you a very good night.